The future will expose overcomplication. Why complexity often looks smarter than simplicity. For a long time, people associated complexity with intelligence. The more complicated, the more impressive it seemed. Long presentations, complicated systems, and endless strategies often created an impression of expertise. But what if complexity is sometimes hiding a lack of clarity rather than demonstrating deeper understanding? The future may force people to confront that possibility more often than they expect. Complexity and depth are not the same thing. Something can be deeply thoughtful while remaining surprisingly simple. Many people confuse the two, assuming difficult language and complicated structures mean better thinking. But often the strongest ideas are those that can be explained clearly without losing their meaning. Technology is accelerating access to information. People can compare solutions and learn new skills faster. As information becomes easier to access, unnecessary complexity becomes easier to notice too. If one explanation creates clarity while another creates confusion, the clearer explanation usually wins. This shift may expose systems that rely more on complexity than effectiveness. I've noticed this while learning difficult subjects. Sometimes a teacher explains a concept using pages of technical language. Then another teacher explains the same idea in a few simple sentences. And suddenly, it makes sense. The knowledge itself did not change. The clarity changed. Understanding often feels simpler than confusion. Many people assume simplicity is easy. In reality, creating simplicity often requires deeper understanding. It is easier to make something sound complicated than to explain it clearly. True understanding removes distractions. That process takes effort. It requires knowing what matters. Information overload makes clarity increasingly valuable. Overcomplicated systems often create hidden costs. They take longer to learn, harder to maintain, and more energy to operate. At first, these systems may seem impressive, but eventually, inefficiencies start showing. People spend more time managing the system than benefiting from it. Effectiveness becomes more important than appearance. Many successful companies have already discovered this principle. Products that are easier to use often outperform others. Services that save time usually beat services that require unnecessary effort. Competitive environments expose inefficiency. If a simpler solution creates the same result, people usually adopt it. The future rewards systems that reduce friction. This pattern is not limited to technology or business. People often overcomplicate their personal lives as well. Productivity systems become more complicated than the work they organize. Health routines become harder than maintaining health itself. Goals become buried beneath endless planning. Sometimes people spend more time preparing than actually improving. One reason overcomplication has become so common is the sheer amount of information available. The result is often confusion rather than clarity. People keep adding more information when they need better filtering. Is the challenge of the future to finding more information or deciding what information is worth keeping? As AI and advanced technology develop, routine complexity may become easier to handle. What becomes valuable then? Clear thinking, judgment. The ability to identify what matters. People who can simplify difficult situations. The future may not reward the person who creates the most complicated solution. It may reward the simplest, effective one. Attention is limited. Every unnecessary step consumes attention that could be used elsewhere. As the world becomes more people move toward systems that respect this. Simplicity is not just about convenience. It is about preserving cognitive resources. The future may expose overcomplication because people become less willing to spend attention on things that do not deserve it. Simplicity does not mean making everything easy. Some problems are genuinely difficult, but there is a difference between necessary and unnecessary complexity. Elegant solutions handle difficult problems. That balance is what makes them powerful. They respect reality without adding confusion that does not need to exist. Historically, complexity sometimes created status, but technology can now organize information and simplify work. Complexity loses some of its advantage. People judge systems by outcomes rather than appearance. The question changes from how complicated is it to how well does it work? That shift could expose many areas where complexity survived mostly because nobody challenged it. There is something encouraging about this trend. Clarity may become more valuable than performance, understanding more valuable than jargon, and effectiveness more valuable than appearance. People may spend less energy trying to look sophisticated and more energy trying to solve real problems. Some of the best ideas in history were powerful precisely because they simplified something that previously felt confusing. The future will likely expose overcomplication because technology and competition reward effectiveness more than appearance. Complex systems that do not create value become harder to justify when simpler alternatives exist, whether in business, education, or personal growth. Clarity is becoming increasingly valuable. Once people learn to separate depth from unnecessary complexity, they discover that the strongest ideas are not always the most complicated ones. Sometimes the most powerful solutions are the ones that make difficult things easier to understand. Thanks for watching.